In this tutorial, I'm going to address blocking for value. But before we start, I want to go over some basics about materials. Your kit included vine charcoal and compressed charcoal. Vine charcoal is lighter and moves more freely on a surface. Its movement flexibility is almost similar to painting. Compressed charcoal is darker and moves less freely on a surface. Together, vine and compressed charcoal can create dazzling effects. Notice how the compressed charcoal dominates in value. Also, notice how I use a rag for some of the blending. While one can use their hands for blending, our hands do produce oil. This oil can sometimes get worked into the surface, creating sticky spots where the charcoal will stick and build up more. Now, this doesn't mean that you cannot blend with your hand. It's just something that you need to be aware of. So if you're experiencing uneven blending with your hand, use a rag. Ultimately, I recommend using a rag to blend larger areas and using your hand to blend smaller areas. Erasers. Your kit included 3 different erasers that serve 3 different purposes. Your kneadable eraser is ideal for delicate removal of a product. It also can be sculpted to remove product from tighter areas. To clean it, simply knead the eraser until clean. You'll notice that kneadable erasers don't leave eraser crumbs either. So if you need a surface to remain clean, it's perfect for the task. However, this eraser is for delicate removal. So that means it also has its limits on what it can erase. For a stronger erasure, use your white plastic eraser. These are designed to break down and thus will produce a crumb. However, they can erase the most stubborn of marks. In between kneadable and plastic is your pink pearl eraser. It produces some crumb, and its ability to erase is between kneadable and plastic. It is the same eraser you'll find at the tip of a generic pencil. Speaking of which, you also have a mechanical eraser. This can be helpful for erasing tighter areas that require more power than your kneadable eraser, but it does produce a high crumb. Now that we've gone over materials, let's go over blocking. When it comes to adding value, blocking is a strategy that can simplify the process. Essentially, blocking is identifying the contour of value. Start by gesturing your object with vine charcoal. Then build the gesture up to a sketch. Now let's identify the contour of value on that sketch. Start by identifying the low-key areas or the core and casted shadows. You'll notice that charcoal is a very tactile way of drawing. Your drawing will be influenced by the way it is touched. Pressure, speed, and angle of the charcoal will determine its final aesthetic. Learning how to physically handle the material is a big part of charcoal drawing. Even resting your hand onto a drawing will affect the outcome. So lay down a scrap sheet of newsprint if needed. Just be sure to keep the newsprint stationary. Sliding it around will blend the charcoal underneath. So now that we've blocked out the values, let's add actual value to those blocks. As I mentioned, pressure, speed, and angle will determine the final aesthetic. The final aesthetic you want to achieve for my class is a range of value. To achieve this, I'm going to have lighter pressure for areas lighter in value. For darker areas, I'm going to gradually build up the material to a compressed charcoal, using my finger or a rag to blend as needed. Just like in building any drawing, you want to start general and then move to specific. Going general to specific is the same process with adding value. Essentially, being general with value is to add the local value first, then adding subtle variations to that value later. So let's see what that looks like. Start with generally filling in the darkest values first. Then, generally fill in your midtones. This is the local value. If I could only assign one value to these sections, this is the value I would apply based off of what I'm seeing. From here, this drawing is still looking pretty flat. This is normal at this stage. It is not until you begin to refine and define that things actually come to life. In other words, it is when you begin to add specifics that your drawing becomes alive. Here's where I will blend and add subtleties to the value. If your details are fine enough, use your charcoal pencil to define them. Charcoal pencils allow for greater control and thus make them perfect for defining and refining. Careful not to mistake graphite pencil for charcoal pencil. They are not the same materials, and you will notice the inconsistency immediately. Now let's go over how to store a charcoal drawing. Art 109 is not granted access to the spray booth on campus, so fixative sprays are not a part of the curriculum. This has nothing to do with COVID, this is just standard for this class. If you're familiar with fixatives and want to use them, just be sure to spray outside and allow your drawing enough time to off-gas before you bring it inside. For the curriculum of Art 109, we teach you how to store charcoal drawings without fixative. To do this, simply sandwich newsprint over your drawing. You'll want to bring extra newsprint to class for sandwiching. Be sure not to slide the newsprint around as it will smudge the drawing. Some students like to tape the paper in place to prevent sliding. If you decide to do this, be sure to use artist tape and not regular masking tape. Artist tape is designed to be gentler on paper so as to prevent tearing when it's removed. Then simply roll the paper together and secure it with artist tape for easy transport.